Hepiniz tekrar hoş geldiniz. Şimdiki oturumumuz İngilizce olarak yapılacak. O yüzden aşağıdan Türkçe dinlemek istiyorsanız dil seçeneğini değiştirmeyi unutmayın. AppNava CEO Damla Dokuzoğlu and Tamatem Games Associate UA Manager Shobhit Sajwan will talk about user acquisition before and after iOS 15 with AppNava and Tamatem. So I'm inviting them to join us right now. Hello.
Hi.
Well,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and I invited you to.
Okay, start. Yeah, hi.
Hello, welcome. You can start whenever you're ready. I'll be here if you need any help.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Shobhit.
Hi, Damla.
Who is the first?
You can go ahead. No worries.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, actually today we will talk about the most based on the SKAdNetwork solution and the after iOS 15 update. And Shobhit will really well informed about the user acquisition part and the iOS 15 after iOS 15 part actually. And we also as an AppNava created some solutions for the Disney's update, and I try to explain what we created. I'm hoping that I'm mostly related with the after part for solution, and maybe Shobhit will explain the before part of the this update actually. And this is my outline. I mostly focused on the SKAdNetwork and what is the conversion value and how we can use them and what is their importance part. And then I ask a questions to the Shobhit about the user acquisition part of the SKAdNetwork. But first, my questions, I probably skip to the Shobhit's presentation. He was present some things, then we continue with the questions.
No, actually, yeah, I can just start with my intro and tell everyone what the company does. So personally, I have been working in user acquisition for over 6.5 years now. I've been working in the gaming industry for 2 years now, and I'm currently working at Tamatem, which is like a leading games publisher in the MENA region. We have like around, I think it's more than 50 games that we have published now, and we have over 150 million downloads. And MENA is our major region, so GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, these are our main core markets along with the rest of the MENA region. So, and I have been working here for the last over 6 months now. So yeah, really excited to be here and to be talking to Damla on how SKAd works and how the data measurement on SKAd works.
Yeah, thank you, Shobhit. And maybe I'll ask my questions when I'm presenting.
Yeah,
I go back to my question slide, then I ask you. Okay, who am I? I'm the CEO of AppNava. AppNava is the data science tool for the game industry. And actually, I'm the data scientist. Before managing this product and creating the product, actually, I was working as a data scientist for a different industry. And my last industry is the gaming industry. Then I decided to create a product for the gaming industry for everyone, actually. Everyone can use the data science and data analytics for their in-game data. And then we developed AppNava, and I give more information about AppNava. Actually, we are leader in making game more profitable. What is the making more profitable? Actually, we are increasing the in-game metrics in terms of LTV, retention, and average revenue per users, and how actually we are targeting the right users with right marketing campaign at right time to increase actually their LTV, retention, and average revenue per users. And at this part, we always telling that our mission is to help the mobile game world to learn from the data and act with data. If you want to decide on something, don't do it without data, actually. If you decide on something, you should use the data in a proper way, and we try to give you this chance to use the data. And as far as I know, the most related problems of the mobile game industry is the churn of the players, because the most of the games are losing their players, 95% of players in 7 days. And for in-app purchaser part, maybe some genres and some game companies are really lucky about it, but the rest of it is not, because only the 2% of players are completely in-app purchases. And this is really bad for the gaming industry, actually. And we always try to increase the retention rate and the in-app purchase part for the game industry. And of course, after the iOS 15, the low return of advertisements, actually, because the ROAS started to decrease, because we cannot targeting the right on the user acquisition part, for the bidding part. And this is the biggest problem for the after iOS 15, actually. And we always believe that not just for the AppNava, most of the growth team and the user acquisition team and the data analytics team in the game industry, we believe that we can change it by using the data in a proper way. And okay, our mission is to help game studios and the publishers and learn from data and act with the data, actually. And this part, and what is the SKAdNetwork? SKAdNetwork actually is the privacy policy to protect the users or the players for their private data. And it is really coming for the June and the last 2021. After the June, they released the iOS 15. And they try to create some privacy-friendly change. And the main goal of the Apple through this system is the more accurate attribution for the iOS campaign. And they say that it is good for the industry, but it has some bottlenecks and the problems for the industry. And they also come back with they said that's a problem. And also they said that we have a solution for this part. And this solution is the conversion value. They explained that the game companies or publishers can update the conversion value. But what is the conversion value actually? It's just the 6 bits of data, and it's ranged from the 0 to 63. You can evaluate and give a number between 0 to 63 for each players to evaluate their performance, maybe, or evaluate your players, and you can update this conversion value. Actually, what does it mean to update this value? Send this value back to the iOS and send this value back to the ad network to calibrate your advertisement, calibrate your user acquisition campaigns. And they believe that this conversion value solves your main problems. And what is, okay, why these are important for SKAdNetwork and conversion value application? Actually, I try to explain these with the two parts of industry: for marketers, for user acquisition managers, for growth managers, and for data analysis part. Actually, setup conversion value is the key for the success on SKAdNetwork. If you want to be successful on this part, you have to do these parts. Why? Because it is really important to understand how players actually interact with your games, to correct information about your user behavior with their app. Because you get some players and you want to track them in your app, you have to set your conversion value. And to get the highest quality of user, because when you update the conversion value, your campaigns became better and you start to get the highest quality of users. And of course, allocate your marketing budget better, because as far as we know, the most of the game studios really suffer for the increasing number of the pricing for per download. It is really drastic for the game industry, and this is really important for the allocate marketing budgets. And for data analyst part, this integration really important to estimate the LTV of the players and to calibrate the player LTV relation, because the lifetime value of the player is really important for your user acquisition part, because you spend the money, now you earn some money from players, you have to balance them to make it more better. And of course, optimize your ads and be ensure that you are moved forward with the acquiring players with the highest LTV, because we always want to find the ways, find the best place for our games. And this SKAdNetwork and the conversion value give chance to find the best targeted players, actually. And these journeys look different. We haven't used this situation, but its results could be promising and good for the rest of the industry, actually. And what is the conversion value update? Actually, is a little bit technical part. In a 24 hours, actually, after the new users come back, you can predict or you can update the conversion value of each new users. How you can change your conversion value, how you can calculate this conversion value. You can set up some static events, for example, tutorial complete and level 1 start and level 2 complete, and then they go to the store. This could be the funnel to set up some conversion value, or you can predict the LTV segment of players and update your conversion value as a more accurate way, actually finding the LTV and the update this LTV as a conversion value. Then send this conversion value to iOS, then optimize ads and budgets, actually. Let's say that Emily is new in the game, and we know that her LTV segment is low, and then the conversion value should be low. It should be the 6. And then the Henry come to game is downloaded. Then we calculate the LTV segment as the high segment. We know that he will do some in-app purchases. And then we set up the conversion value as a 55 because the highest conversion value. And all these algorithms are actually working with the reinforcement learning. Okay, we updated the conversion value, we sent the data, and what iOS or ad networks are doing with this data. Actually, they try to combine this old knowledge and try to learn for the best way for your game. Actually, they use the reinforcement learning. Okay, they learn something and they go back and evaluate, then learn and go back and evaluate. It's always feed and feedback system. It's always feedbacking your user acquisition part. This is their main learning system, actually. At the end of this day, if you are set up your SKAdNetwork part properly and conversion value, these results are really possible to get, actually increase your LTV, increase your ROAS, and decrease the ad spends, and then of course the higher user engagement, because you start to find the best place for your game, best streets player for your game, actually. And these are the expecting results. And maybe I can go back to my questions for you, Shobhit, or you want to add something? You are mute, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just saying we can cover a lot of the things that you mentioned in your presentation within the questions as well. So yeah, we can go ahead with the questions.
Yeah.
Because I do understand, and I do agree with a lot of points that you covered.
Of course. And okay, I actually, these questions are coming from our customers and maybe coworkers, and they ask questions about user acquisitions before and after part. And I prepared some list of questions for you. It's 6 or 5 questions, and this is the first 3 of them. I'll first read the first one. How hard was the change process for you as a Tamatem? In general, how did it affect your cost in iOS user acquisition part? Actually, it is asking the cost part of the user acquisition.
Yeah. I think overall in the industry, people have seen cost increase on iOS, and it was pretty similar for us as well. Most of our games are IAP purchase driven. So again, iOS becomes a very huge contributor to that, and not being able to measure what our revenue and how much ROAS we are getting from iOS, plus not able to know if we are making some changes to the optimization, is it actually creating a positive impact or is it creating a negative impact? Not being able to know that was definitely a major concern as well. But in terms of just cost, we did see an increase. However, for the MENA region, it was actually slightly delayed. As you said, SKAN was introduced end of Q2, start of Q3 last year. So around June, July. But because of slightly slower adoption in the MENA region, we actually saw the full effect of SKAN towards Q4. And it was actually kind of a double, basically, because in Q4, we have traditionally seen that the cost of the inventory goes up. On top of that, we actually saw SKAN taking full force. So on our end, we actually saw the cost increase by around 10x to 15x just on iOS, and that is the acquisition cost. The subsequent purchase cost was even higher because, again, SKAN is not able to pass events more than 24 hours, and most of our purchases took place after that. So we got even less purchases being reported. So the purchase cost actually was much higher. Yeah.
Actually,
but
did
yeah.
you stop your user acquisition for a while or in a term for iOS?
No. So we didn't completely stop it, but we definitely reduced the spend on iOS until we actually saw how the data is to be measured and what is the impact of that. Again, as I said, because the update or the overall adoption was slightly lower, it was into the Q4. It actually gave us an opportunity to see what the other industry, like the other clients or other advertisers were doing. So we saw the costs again increasing on other advertisers. We saw most of the common, like the top used platforms like Facebook, Google, they all saw a drop in performance as well. So on some end, we were already expecting that. So it didn't come as a huge shock for us. But yeah, we did reduce the spends. We didn't completely stop iOS because iOS again is a premium inventory source for us, and we know that we are getting quality users from iOS. We just aren't able to measure them. So we did reduce the spend. So we were spending before SKAN, I think around March, April, we were spending somewhere around 80% of our budgets on iOS, and it came down to 30% in Q4. Yeah, so a lot of the budget actually moved out of iOS. Some went into Android, some went into other marketing, like non-paid UA acquisition, like influencer marketing, social media, and all of that. But yeah, so we did try different things to like compensate for the lack of measurement on iOS.
Yeah, as far as I know, the most of your games are the really in-app purchase related games actually, and these are the most of the purchases are coming from the iOS user. Actually, it's a really drastic problem for
definitely.
Yeah, it's common.
And sorry, I'll just add to that because you mentioned cost in the first question. So I think overall across the industry, we did see cost increase on Android as well, because like everyone was just moving to Android, and like the costs on Android just increased drastically for us as well. And the major issue was that the quality of users on Android, like in terms of purchase value, it remained the same. So it was already lower than what we had earlier, and now we are paying even more money for the same user.
Şimdi daha aynı kullanıcı için aynı şeye parayı veriyoruz aslında. Şu an daha zor oldu. Çünkü bu yüzden de iOS'a daha fazla önem vermeye başladık. Yavaş yavaş iOS'taki buradaki LTV süresini arttırma yönelik işlemleri devam ettiriyoruz. Çok teşekkürler. Harika. Şimdi üçüncü soruya gelmek istiyorum.
Optimization change actually for Facebook, for Unity, actually which ad networks are you using, but actually you change your optimization strategy for each of them or specific of them?
So yeah, we actually again, as I said, because we saw that Facebook, I think Facebook was one of the biggest networks that saw the drop happening, and most of our before SKAN, most of our marketing, paid UA marketing was on social media channels only. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all of these. And once SKAD came in, there like the ability to measure went away. So again, the performance definitely saw a drop. I'll come to Unity a little later on, but yes, there was definitely a drop on the basically the entire optimization part, and we kind of tried to negate it by doing 3 or 4 major things. One was we started focusing just on the top level metrics, because again, in the first 24 hours we don't see after the first 24 hours we don't see much data coming through. So measuring purchases or lower funnel events, it didn't really make sense for us because we won't get those coming in. So for iOS, we started focusing on top level. So optimizing on click-through rates, optimizing on cost per installs, on IPMs, basically trying to get as many users towards the top, and then hoping that the game is good enough and we will see the consistency which we have seen for so long in the games, and users will automatically start converting. To actually facilitate that, we actually started investing heavily on creatives as well, because now creatives became a very important part of engaging users. So we started testing a lot of concepts, a lot of themes that we could have, maybe a testing different motivations through the creatives to engage users into the game. And
actually, how frequently you are changing your creatives for each company?
Yeah, so on the it actually depends on the networks, because again, this was something we did earlier where we just used one creative for all the networks. So we have one video made and we use it across. But after SKAD, we actually started treating each network or each platform separately. So Facebook has a separate creative requirements versus Instagram, Google versus maybe Snapchat and TikTok. So we were in consistent communication with our account managers there, getting to know more information about, okay, what are the best practices for creatives, how other clients are probably best leveraging the creative tools that they had. So yes, so we actually started treating each network differently for the creatives. And in terms of creative refresh, again, each network has its own like refresh cycles, but we usually go once in 2 weeks is our standard frequency, unless some creatives are doing really well for us, then we delay changing them, but it's usually once in 2 weeks is around the ballpark figure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. And for a question, before iOS 15, iOS traffic is already like 30% of users actually, and as far as I expect, and this rate probably decreased after the new version of the iOS 15. And what is the new rate for this traffic actually?
So for iOS 15 specifically, it isn't actually a lot different from iOS 14 because there aren't a lot of, because Apple said that, Damla, I think we lost your presentation.
I'll
no
present again.
Yeah, no worries, I'll continue. So Apple did mention that they are going to have tools to help facilitate advertisers and help advertisers market. We haven't seen a lot of new things coming through. Custom product pages is definitely one of those. But we we really haven't been following the opt-in rate or the adoption rate for iOS 15 specifically. We did follow it very closely for SKAN with iOS 14.5. And I think we have come like from the data on our end, it is very close to what the industry is seeing, somewhere around 20-22% opt-in. But the interesting thing which we found out when we were looking at the data was we found it was slightly like it was fluctuating based on the genre. So for us, we have card games in our portfolio. So we have 2 or 3 card games, and for those we saw the opt-in rates for somewhere around 15 to 17%, versus games which were more casual, somewhere like makeovers and more casual games, those actually increased up to like 28 to 30%. So we saw that 10 to 12% difference in the opt-in rates based on what genres we were targeting. Again, it's just a small sample set for our games. Maybe industry-wide it might even out. But that was something interesting that we saw.
Okay, and I'm presenting my again. Wait, my next question. Yeah. Oh my, Allah, wait.
No worries.
This part probably. Wait a minute. I just try to add your questions to my presentation.
Yeah, no worries. It's all right. I have it there. I can ask you.
Okay. And yeah, I'm showing you right now. Good right now. Yeah, I added my question.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you do you have any organic acquisition channels like the influencer marketing? And as far as I know, you have. And if yes, how is this affected actually after the SKAdNetwork part?
Yeah, influencer marketing was interesting for me personally because in my previous companies, we haven't had influencer marketing as a major channel, but influencer marketing does really well in the MENA region. It is already a big chunk of organic user base for not just our company, but a lot of companies. And we like invest very heavily in that alongside investing very heavily in social media. So we have our communities that we create and we grow. on most of the social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. We have our pages there to like keep users more interact more with users and like grow that community, because essentially if you are getting a user from that from like I think we lost Damla. We'll wait.
Did we lose Damla?
Yeah, I think so. We can wait for a couple of minutes
Yeah,
when she joins.
Of course, I'm sure she'll be back.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone has any questions, they can just
Sorusu olan herhangi biri varsa Q&A kısmından sorabilir.
answer one few of those while Damla comes back.
Shobhit,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I lost my connection. Sorry. Okay.
Can you
Welcome.
rotate your telephone maybe because you are upside down?
Yeah, just like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you so
yeah,
much.
that's great.
Okay.
Okay, we can continue.
Yeah, so yeah, I can continue. Yeah. So yeah, I was mentioning about social media, and basically the users you get from those platforms are closer to the core audience that you have for your game, because if they have liked your page or if they're watching your page content on your pages, they are more likely to be interested in that kind of games, and so getting the users from there are more engaging in the games. They are more active, so it's really a great source to get good quality users. It is kind of like contextual targeting, where if the user is on the page, they like that kind of thing, and it works well for the game. So yeah, we do heavily invest in influencer marketing and growing organically the user acquisition, not user acquisition, the social media pages and the community on social media. That is a core part of Tamatem.
Actually, as far as I know, you are using the influencer marketing for specific genres, or for like the RPG games, or all of them, or for MENA part. Actually, I know that this is the RPG games are really famous in the MENA part. Actually, is there any specific distribution for it?
We use influence marketing. We use it consistently for two genres. Basically, one is, as I said, our card games, which are like two of the top games, and one is for our action strategy game, Clash of Empire. So those two are the ones that are consistently running. So month over month, week over week, you'll see influencer campaigns for that. There are a few other games which have more seasonal or more basically event-based influence marketing. So if there is an anniversary of the game, or if there is a new update on the game, that's when we do influencer marketing for that. But those are update-based, and like the earlier ones I said, the card-based game, VIP Balut and Clash of Empires, those we do on a weekly or a bi-weekly or monthly basis. So it's much more regular.
Okay. And probably my last questions. I need to share my screen now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. Yes. Not this one. I'm always convinced. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
The user ID base. So yeah.
Yes.
I think SKAN has actually, I think SKAN, as you mentioned, SKAN has effectively removed all ID-based tracking on iOS, and looks like Google is going to do similarly on Android. They have already announced their privacy sandbox, so should be similar. Basically, we have to move ahead outside of ID-based tracking and ID-based attribution and find solutions to do that. Internally, we have been trying to do that as well. There are couple of things that we mentioned, very similar to what you have mentioned in your slides as well. So looking at the data for the first 24 hours is absolutely crucial for us, which also means that we have to set up our events, like in-game events, in a way that we get more data in the first 24 hours. So if user is completing 10 events in the first 24 hours, we need to get all those events, because that way it will help us identify what kind of user they are. Basically the user is, what kind they are. Basically we can just bucket them into maybe highly engaged users or high spenders, or maybe non-spenders, versus if you have ads in your game, you can have separate category for users who watch a lot of in-app ads. So basically knowing the early user behavior actually helps predict what kind of LTV or what kind of performance we might see from the user in the longer run. So using that has been a good basically approach for us. Secondly, along with that, analyzing the first party data as well. So first party data right now is like, it's already hugely important, and now if Android goes away with the ID tracking, it will become very, very crucial. So because that is literally the only data we get which is reliable and which we know is very accurate and completely true. So analyzing your first party data to see, okay, these are the things that if users does like these 3 or 4 actions, then it is very highly valuable for us. So maybe we can, when we are optimizing or when we are finding new users for the game, we can look at those 3-4 things and try to get users similar to that. So it becomes really important for us. The other thing which you mentioned in that question, Unity one, which I didn't cover at that time, was using contextual targeting. So as I said earlier, all our marketing or paid UA efforts were on social media channels. But with the lack of tracking, we started looking at more contextual networks. So like Unity is majorly a gaming inventory network. And if we know that if, let's say we are promoting our action strategy game, if the ad is shown on a game that is probably an action strategy or maybe just a purely action based game, then the user is most likely to download the app and maybe test it. So just using that, these networks which have very specific inventory sources that are that work for you and that are valid for your type of games or your type of app in general, using those is become very important. So as you mentioned Unity, so we have been extensively working with Unity over the last 4 or 5 months now to get users who show behavior similar to what we need for our games. And in terms of data set, I think there is one other thing which we haven't personally tested, but it is something that there's been a lot of talk around in the industry, which is media mix modeling, where they just look at the holistic data for the app and determine which sources are working well for and which sources are not. It is still something we are still researching and seeing if it actually helps us or it works for us. But media mix modeling is something else that we have been looking into.
Actually, what kind of things are tried to engage for holistic part is interesting.
So I think because and I said, as I mentioned in the last one, we use a lot of organic, basically driving organic traffic. So influencers, social media. Sometimes we send emails as well. So it is very difficult to identify where the user is actually coming from. So what we have done as a solution, like, hello, Damla. Did we lose her again?
Yes, but she's still screen sharing.
She's back. I think she's sharing the screen from the other device.
Yeah.
Hi. I think we can't hear you. I think she is having issues with her connection.
Maybe you can try to open your microphone from the device that you are screen sharing right now. That way we can hear you.
No, we can't hear you. I think it's connecting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Sorry again for
no, absolutely no worries. So yeah, as I said, like we have a lot of different sources where users come in from, and some of them are not like very accurately measurable, like influencer marketing or from social media. We can't really know if the user saw a post or saw some of the influencers talking about our games and then came to download it. So what we have done as a like the initial solution is to have a benchmark of how much organic basically organic traffic we see on our games, and then see any uplift that we are seeing. Basically, if we ran an influencer campaign for a week, and then if we see a uplift during that time, we can assume that it's because of that. So basically just following the trend and seeing, okay, basically mapping out all the marketing techniques together and seeing when we see an uplift, and when we see more retentions, more revenue coming in, and analyzing those to find out what channel basically works out best for us.
Okay. Thank you, Shobhit. Actually, these are my questions.
Yeah.
If you want to add extra things, maybe at the end of the session, probably the audience will ask the question.
Definitely.
Then now, when you are answering questions, I try to add my questions to this presentation.
Because like I'm very curious, because now with less data and what AppNava is doing with data measurement and predictions, I'm really curious to like how like you have overcome this challenge, or how you're working to overcoming this challenge. So yeah, it should be really interesting.
Okay, thank you. And these are the questions from the Shobhit to me. Actually, we try to combine them in one presentation, and these are the questions for him. Thank you.
Yeah, I can read it. Yeah, I'll read it out. So how has the data measurement and like prediction changed with SKAD in the last 1 year?
Actually, first of all, many studios and publishers have stopped, as you mentioned, that they stopped and reduced the user acquisition for the iOS part. And because the user acquisition spending is going to up like the crazy, and they had to be stop it. And they at the end of this part, actually, our model accuracy start to be reduced because of the number of the users. So this reduces the number of users for iOS part, and then the data consisted almost only for the Android users. Yeah, we just started to get just the data from the Android users. There is not any more iOS user for this part. Yeah. And then, of course, the model accuracy decreases because we always focusing on the heterogeneous kind of a players and heterogeneous kind of a users. If we only focusing on the one channel or on the one operating system, it is not useful for us. And then, of course, the model accuracy this decreased. Then we created the SKAdNetworks, and then we start to stabilize this part between August to November, because it started at the June, then they released the new version in the September, and on this way we try to create the SKAdNetwork prediction model, and between August to November we try to optimize our models. And because the user from the iOS not properly targeted, and as we know that previously our game companies can target the user, they get the best users for them. They are acting very well in the game. They are playing, they are spending, because these are targeted players. Then now the new players starts to come. They are not targeted ones. They are not suitable for the game. They don't like the game. They quit the game. They don't complete any events. And so always we couldn't collect any events. Then we start to calculate actually. And for now, actually, our conversion value and predictions and the results are getting better and return better, actually. As the time passed, we see that ad campaign performance is improving with conversion value and sent to the updated the iOS site. In other words, the performance of the campaign you open on the Facebook start to decline, actually, and the user quality decrease. And the week later, as we know that if you started the campaign you mentioned, in a week later you have to change your maybe creatives, you retarget your campaign, because the performance of the campaign decreased. Now we start to increase the duration of the campaigns. You don't need to update in a continuous time period of the year to change to your target, because we're sending the conversion value learning the behavior of this network, and they actually change the performance of the campaign, their insight actually. And it's critical, as far as I mentioned that this is critical to use the conversion value for the defined by the iOS correctly. If you send your conversion value correctly, your ad network use it to increase the performance of your user acquisition marketing actually.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. Conversion value is like super crucial now. And on your first point as well, because iOS also has a limit, like it'll only send data after seeing like maybe 70, 80, 100 installs. So it is important to like continue investing on iOS so we get more data.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll move to the next one. So yeah, it's I think similar to what we discussed. Is there a minimum you install or user volume that is needed to get an accurate prediction? I think you briefly touched on this. But like, is there still a number, or is there a range where we see, okay, this is a good prediction?
Okay. Actually, it depends on the stage of the game. Actually, if your game on the test part for technical test, we just need the 1,000 to 2,000 users just enough, because this is the technical part. We just try to understand the events are coming properly, can evaluate the acquisition data and the in-game data, and we can combine them. We are just focusing on the integration part to test that it is working good for just a small number of users enough. For soft launch part, for 3,000 to 5,000 users actually needs for us to create some models at the first models, because this is the soft launch. We are targeting, we are choosing some specific market and acquiring the users, and we need to increase the number of users for the models. And after the soft launch, we are on the normal situation. At least in a weekly, we are expecting 10K to 20K players to update model, because in a weekly period, we try to update the model, and we are expecting the 10K to 20K players. Actually, it depends on, again, the size of the games. For social casino games are different from the puzzle games, but the range is between 2K to 20K. For SKAdNetwork part, these numbers are same. We didn't get because the percentage of the IDFA confirmed users rate is really low, and we try to simulate and we try to increase the number of iOS people behavior in a mathematical models. Actually, we simulate and we increase the number of players. For this reason, actually we use simulation. For this reason, the same numbers are required for the SKAd part.
Oh, that's nice to know. Like there is no like extra requirement for SKAdNetwork. Nice. Yeah, again, from mine, because as I said, we are heavily like testing and optimizing on creatives. Like, does creative prediction basically seeing, okay, this creative led to good ROAS in the past? So if it's getting some user, the user might be more will have better quality. So does that ever come into the prediction consideration on creatives?
Yes. Actually, for the iOS postback data doesn't contain any creative information. It just contains the ad network and the campaign ID. We don't know the creative ID. For this reason, it is not easy to track the creative performance. For example, we know that this coming from the Facebook and Facebook 5th campaign. We know that this users coming from this campaign, and there's 100 people there, and the average conversion value of these people are 55. It's a really good campaign for us. We don't know the creative part actually. Actually, we don't have.
Yeah, makes sense, because it's like it's being limited by Apple. So
yeah.
I think yeah, again on Android, because you mentioned like sorry,
is this correct one? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So yeah, again on Android, because you said a lot of your clients actually moved budgets to Android. So and Android has been like, I think across industry we saw that movement to Android. But do you ever like, because on our end, like when we are running user acquisition campaigns, we do this where if something is working on Android, we try to replicate that on iOS. On the data end, do you also do something similar where if you are seeing some prediction on Android or some variables that are leading to a certain prediction on Android, do you use the same algorithm or same learnings on iOS predictions as well?
Yeah, actually, I mentioned before that we have the limited behavior from the iOS people because we have lots of Android people and we have limited behavior from the iOS people. And most of them seems like the organics because they do not allow the IDFA part and we cannot track them their attribution data.
Yeah.
At this part, actually, we use the behavior of the Android users, the mirroring for the iOS people. Actually, we have that the 10 iOS people and 100 Android people, and we try to simulate and mirror their behavior with the mathematical models again that they simulate their behaviors in the in-game, and we expect that the rest of the iOS people actually in the data. Maybe they do not allow us to, they are coming from or sharing their data. In their in-game data, we try to understand if these are coming from the iOS or not, actually, depending on their data. Does it make sense, or I can give more detail about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think people would like to have like more detail on.
Okay, let's say that we try to predict that this is the iOS player or Android player. We know that they are acting differently, especially in the game genres, and we detect the iOS player behavior and we learn how they are acting. And there's some group of people we don't know who they are, and we try to predict that if they are coming from the iOS people or not. Actually, we try to match them. Yeah.
Okay. So you like basically reverse the process to see if the model is working.
Exactly. And so what does it mean? And this means that the learning models we simulate for both iOS and the Android users, especially for the iOS user, to cross with the behavior of these players actually. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's good to know. And like continuing with Android, like Google has already announced like it'll start working on their privacy settings and basically policies. So are you preparing it for it in similar way to iOS, or are you expecting more data coming from Google, because Google itself is an advertising company? So like people are expecting that they won't have as strict guidelines as Apple did.
Yeah, actually, I think that it will be the less painful because we learn a lot from the iOS parts, and they change drastically everything. It's going to be easy for both sides, for game industry part and for our side actually. At the first stage, it was drastic for us to learn from how to predict, how to find. Actually, finding which campaigns they are coming is not easy because the iOS prospect sends just an ID for the campaign for AppNetwork. We don't know which campaign, because in your Facebook dashboard you can see the ID of the campaign, but in the prospect data doesn't contains any information about it. We have to first match players, AppNetworks, and the campaign information. Now it is easy for us, and it's actually, I think that all these procedures are good for the gaming industry, game publishers, and the game developer studios, because now you have the exact data for download and user acquisition. Previously in Facebook, we saw the different numbers of people downloaded our games, and you need to show extra players download our games, and we don't know which data is correct. And now we have the raw data and the correct data, and if it is done for the Google part, it is perfect match. And sometimes, of course, we lose the information of players, but we can simulate and we can find the players' data. Thanks to the mathematical models, actually, we can find the players' behavior with this way, actually. But this could be the changing for the industry for the MMP parts, because the AppNava and I just give the information about this data. and now if we have the whole data coming from these stores, maybe we don't need the MMPs anymore, and maybe they changed their roles and the solutions. It's actually would change the more things in the industry. Actually, I believe that.
Yeah, a big change coming through.
Yeah.
Okay, we are a little bit out of time,
Okay.
so I would like to thank to you for joining us today, and we hope to see you again.
Yeah, it was great.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
For my disruption and network.
Absolutely, yeah, great presentation, Damla.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.